For you married fellas out there, doing stuff like this will get you unmarried. Be sure to do this when your wife is not around. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're in the shop tonight. We got the dozer here all painted up. I finally got the front skid plate under there bolted up. I got the coolant in there. I had to go to Napa and pick up some metric bolts. For some reason I wound up with a lot more bolt holes than I had bolts going back. I think because that's half of them were missing, and I had some of them cross-threaded in the wrong bolts and all that. Anyway, I had to go get some metric bolts. Got that on there. Getting ready to mount the blade back on there. I've got the bearings that come that I ordered for the blade mount down there. I've got them. I've had them in the freezer for, I don't know, like a week since I got them in. Put the box and all in the freezer, that way they would get cold and shrink because they're press fit into the mount. I've got the eye bolt mounts in the oven set at 350 degrees, so hopefully that they will swell up a little bit and that the bearing will shrink down a little bit being cold, and I won't have very much trouble getting them in because I don't have a press, and you really shouldn't beat on a hardened bearing like that. It's a good way to break it. So hopefully they will go in there without much issue. Maybe just a few gentle taps with a brass hammer is what I'm hoping for. So we'll see how that goes. Still got to do some work on the blade, but what I did was I painted the blade where the cylinders and stuff hook up from like here back. Painted a little bit on the front part of it, but I painted the main part that I wasn't gonna be able to get to once I get it back on here. It'll be easier to work on it with it on the dozer because I can pick it up and set jack stands up under the front edge of it and then be able to work on the blade and stuff. And it'd just be easier to have it on the dozer so I can move it around since the dozer moves. So that's the way I'm gonna do it. As I say, got those eye bolt mounts. I'm not sure, I ordered some washers. I ordered more washers. It's only supposed to take 2, but I ordered 4 because if you see that hole right there, it's kind of messed up, and I may have to do something with that if the blade does not, say if it's cocked on one side or the other, because there's not a whole lot of room between the blade, the C-frame, and the pads there. So I need to get it, make sure that it's straight left to right and it's not, you know, offset to one side or the other. So I may have to do something with that, or it may work just fine the way it is. So anyway, let's go check the oven and see how our eye bolts are cooking. All right, so here is our bearings right here. So, as I say, have been in the freezer for like a week. They're still wrapped up and everything in here, and they're just chilling out. Here is our eye bolts that we have cooking here. I've got this set on 350. I don't want to get too hot because I don't want to burn the temper in the bolts, but anyway, I think we'll be okay doing this. It'd be a consistent heat. Instead of trying to heat it with a torch or whatever, it should be a consistent heat, and hopefully that'll swell up just a little bit and we'll be able to press that bearing down in there. Alright guys, we're going to see what happens here. I left the thing in there for about an hour. Left the other one still in there. But even with welding gloves on, like playing hot potato. Trying to get that darn thing out here. And I was running. So it is very, very warm. Hopefully, this will go right down in there. Not too much trouble. Get a bigger hammer and bump that. It's in there. I don't know if we damaged it or not, but anyway, it's still hot. Hot, hot. Let's try with the socket first. See how it works for me. We gotta hit bottom. Yep. That's definitely not the proper procedure for installing those, but when you don't have anything else to work with, it'll do. Alright guys, this is the next day. These things have cooled off and getting ready to put them on there. Probably ought to put some Loctite on these things for the next guy so they can have as much fun getting this off as I did. But put some anti-seize on here if I can get some out of here. Old jug of anti-seize I had here. May have another old jug over there. I have to try it. Alright guys, I've got anti-seize on them. I've got the grease zerks in there. And I'm going to put this one right here back on the same side it was where they messed up, where it was messed up because they tried to weld it to the dozer down there for whatever reason. I don't know why they did that. Alright guys, so I've modified this washer right here so that it fits up on here. I'm going to have to weld that to that. I guess I wouldn't have to, but I'm going to. And so that this bolt will be the right length. The way it is now, after they welded this shoulder on there and it wallered out and I had to grind this weld off and fix it. For those of you guys who hadn't seen the previous video when I took this thing apart, they had welded this bolt in and it was loose and flopping around and it's wallered the hole out in the frame mount down there. And anyway, so the bolt's protruding through too far, so that when I put the washer on here, the washer's the size of the threads and it won't tighten up. So and it's also got the blade this side too far in, so the blade would be cocked over this way. But anyway, got this washer modified here so that it's going to fit. It's an old washer and give us the right length and everything. So I'm going to weld this on right here, and hopefully that'll get this to tighten up, and hopefully it'll work out. There's a little bit of slack in here because it's wallered that hole out, but there's not a whole lot you can do with something that somebody has done messed up beforehand and it's wallered a hole out in a frame up under there. So I guess we're going to do what we got to do and try to get it the best that we can. That's all we can do at this point. All right guys, I really hate to do that like that, but I don't have a lot of options here. As I said in the previous video, this bolt right here, well, now that I put the bearing in it, is $400 and something, and the frame is still wallered out down there, so that even if I bought a new bolt, that wouldn't fix that problem. So we're just going to do it that way, and hopefully we can get it tight and keep it tight and it don't waller out any worse. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, especially when somebody else has messed it all up for you. So anyway, it is what it is at this point. Alright guys, well, I got it on there. I put it on there with all the ooga doogas the 3/4 inch Milwaukee here had, so hopefully it'll work. I don't know how well you guys can see down there. You can see what I got going on there. Again, not the best way to do things, but you know, when somebody messes up before you and it wallers a hole out and they try to weld it to it, you know, guess you got to do what you got to do. So get the blade in here and see if we can get it hooked up now. All right guys, I've got the blade set up on some blocks here, and I've got it about the right height, or maybe just a little higher, maybe a 1/2 inch higher or so here. But my blocks are on an angle down here. I should be able to take a hammer, bump the end of them, and it should lower this down. But I'm going to drive the dozer forward and try to line those mounts down there up with this right here, And I'll have to watch this cylinder here. I may need to go ahead and tie that up. I bet the other one's still tied up over there. I've got my pins here. We got the one new pin that was wore. This one here was nothing wrong with. It's just a little bit rusty. I took a little emery cloth, cleaned it up. You can't really tell, but anyway, I got to find my bolts that go in there. They had a couple different size bolts in there, and I think they got the threads kind of messed up, so we may have to fiddle with that too. Let me find those, and I'll get you guys set up over here. We'll see if we can get this dozer to walk forward and see if we can get it lined up and get the blade stuck back on here. All right, guys. Well, I've got it stuck back on there. That was a little bit of fun to get it lined back up. It wasn't horrible, but wasn't really fun either. Had to get up under the dozer several times. I didn't have it. The height was about right, and I was able to bump the blocks and get it just like I wanted it, but I wasn't quite square with it. So I got one pin in there, and then had to move the dozer around. Had to put the tractor in front of the blade to hold it and push against it just a little bit to get the other side lined up. But I got it in there, and it appears to be a right distance in between the tracks and the C-frame there. If you look on each side, it's about right. But you can see when the mount's being bad, how much it's chewed into that C-frame before I got the thing on each side. Another thing I noticed, somehow they've managed to bend this upright right here over. If you look right there, it's bent in. It's going to be up against that side panel. I don't know. I don't know if I can pull that back straight or not. I have no idea how they bent that, but all I can do is hook a tractor onto it and see if I can pull it out, because that's one of the reasons the side panel's all messed up like it is that is all up against it, as you see. So I don't know how they managed to do that. They did a lot of things on this stuff. On this thing. I'm not sure how they managed to do. But you see that one, how it's supposed to be there. So anyways, I'll see if I can straighten that up, and then we'll be ready to start repairing this blade down here, which I plan to narrow and put a little shorter cutting edge on it. I've got some cutting edges ordered. That's a little shorter, and that'll make it, should make it so it's not over width to haul, and it'll still be plenty of blade, because this blade is 10'4", and I plan to make it like 9'7", I believe. So it'll still be plenty wide enough. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up, I guess. We got the blade back on there and all that good stuff. And so at least I can move the dozer around with the blade and pick the blade up and be able to put it on jack stands and stuff, so that I can start working on this. It's the easiest way to move it is have it on attached to the dozer. I got to cut all this stuff here off. That they look like they had two separate kinds of root rakes on here or something. And I'm gonna modify this here. Cut this off right here. It's the reason the paint. I just stopped the paint when I was painting. No point in painting all this all the way to the end that I'm going to be working on, and then just have to go back and grind the paint off. So I just kind of painted what I needed to paint up around the dozer and all that good stuff. So whenever we get done with the blade, we'll touch up all the paint and all that good stuff. All right, guys. So I'm trying to straighten this up right here. I don't know what the deal is, but I tried to pull on it with a tractor, which in the conditions I was in, the mud, that tractor probably only put about 8,000 pounds on it. Stuck the blade in the ground, and I was starting to drag the dozer. The front end of it was trying to slide around, but with the blade in the ground, it anchored pretty well. But I got this big chain binder right here, and let's see, this is a 5/8 binder. Working load limit is 13,000 pounds. And this thing seems to be pulling pretty good. I got the track here pulled up, as you see. And I've got my cheater bar on the end of it here. And I got it pulled over pretty good, but I don't know if I got it pulled over far enough that it's going to stay. But I got the track up against it right here. So I'm going to try to snug it a little bit more and see what happens. This is a 5/8 binder. It's made for 5/8 chain. I think it's definitely putting some pull on it. But that thing should be really strong the way they got it gusseted right there. It's hard for me to believe that it's been over. But it's definitely been over, because it's been rubbing up against the side of the dozer. And the side panel there, the side panel is all messed up from that. Alright guys, if you look at this cylinder here, up against where it's beside the dozer there on the inside, look at that inside plate, and you can see that it's welded. It's been welded before. That's not a factory plate, because the other side is not that way. Pay attention to the thickness of the back side of that pin right there and how that's done. And then look at this side over here. If you notice, the inside plate over here is the same as the outside plate on this side. If you look at this one over here, see the outside plate is the same as the other side, and that inside plate there is a lot bigger. So that's something that somebody put on there and welded up. You can tell that was welded with a stick right there on the inside. And then if you come back over here, look at the thickness on the inside of that. You see right there where I'm trying to cut it off. I think they tweaked this thing and then welded it up and did some repair on it, and then they put a whole lot thicker little thing that looks like something somebody made at a machine shop maybe. I'm not sure, but you can tell this ear here has been cut off, and then this is welded on here, but this is a lot thicker than the other side. So I'm trying to cut this off with a Sawzall, and my battery just went dead. But it's not going to be the straightest because I don't really want to get up here with a torch and go to cutting, because it's going to make a mess, and the mess is seal up, catch the grease on fire in here. But I've got about halfway. I'm about halfway through it there, and I don't know. It's probably taking me an hour to get that far, but hopefully we get on through that. But you see what I'm talking about the inside plate here being the same as here, and then this was cut off and welded on there, and that's something somebody had to have made that at a machine shop or something. I'm not exactly sure there. But then the other side, as I was saying, if you look, here's the same size as the other here. If you look at the center one, this is a whole lot bigger piece. It goes down a lot further here, and this was stick welded up through here, and this is not near as thick here, but it does have a little bit of a bolster here. So I don't know. I think they tweaked the thing, and it looks like this has been welded with a stick here, and they've got it tweaked, and then they reinforced this, that, and other, and welded it up, and it's a little crooked. But if I can get that piece cut off right there, I think it will clear just enough, because you can see here where when you push down on the blade, it's been rubbing, and the side panel here has got a spot in it where it's been rubbing and it's been in. But that'll give me about half an inch, a good half inch right there, if I can get that off of there. And I think it'll be just enough to clear, and it should work, because I've tried pulling on this thing and I'm not getting anywhere. The only other thing I might could do would be take the blade back off and cut this side here loose all the way across the bottom. That would probably allow me to bend it, maybe, but I'm not 100% sure on that, because I don't know how the gusset is in here. So anyway, if I can get it to clear here, we'll call it good enough, as long as I can get it to clear and the side panel goes on and it's not really rubbing it, I guess. Alright guys, I finally got that thing cut off. It took about 2 hours with the Sawzall. This is a different day here. Just worked on it a little bit at a time, let the Sawzall cool, and had to let some batteries charge up. Went through several batteries. Didn't actually use but 3 Sawzall blades. The blades that I got are evidently pretty good blades. They're pretty expensive, but evidently pretty good. Got these at Tractor Supply. They're both 14 teeth per inch, and I got a 6 and an 8 just for different projects and stuff. But anyway, I think they were $20-something for a 5-pack. So that's with tax and everything. It was almost 50 bucks for those blades. But still have quite a few of them left. As I said, it didn't take but like 3, and that's a pretty good chunk of iron there. That's, I don't know, 3.5 inches across, 4 inches across, something like that. I did cheat a little bit. I pulled the pin out because I was going to be cutting right through the pin, and that pin is hardened, and Sawzall would not cut through it very well. I actually had a little bit of trouble with the Metabo blade on a grinder. But anyway, I only had to cut just about a 1/4 inch off the pin to get that, and I'll probably give myself another 3/4 inch of clearance. And I did a little bit of more measuring and stuff, and figured out, I was wondering if maybe because the frame rails were cracked and welded before, I was wondering if maybe the front end was offset to this way or something like that. And I measured from the tracks to the same point on the hood here on the front of the dozer, and the measurement's the same, relatively close, within 3/16 of an inch. So it's definitely not that. And I'm right down here on the bottom of the C-frame on each side and everything, and my mounts back there on the back are right, and the bushings are tight and everything. And from what I've gathered, If you look right here, you can see there's a weld right here. I actually had to re-weld that. It had been welded before and cracked, and I re-welded it. So what I believe has happened is they were probably digging stumps like everybody does with the left side of the blade over there. And with those bushings being wore out back there in the mounts or bearings or whatever, it was allowing this to tweak over to this side, and then you're pushing down with your hydraulic cylinders here trying to dig in, and that was also pushing. It was already, you know, twisted in a bind, and then you're pushing more on it with the cylinders here, and I believe that's how they ripped this here. And I think it's maybe pushed kind of forward and over it a little bit this way, and I think what happened is it stretched this metal enough that it cracked it open. Then they welded it up, and then it cracked again, and then I welded it up, so it's not perfectly straight. So if I wind up having to take this thing back off, what I'll probably have to do is cut this side out down here in the bottom and give myself a little bit of a gap so that I can pull this back up straight and then re-weld it. But if it'll clear like that, we're going to go with that right there. So we'll see. You can see how much clearance this hair got. A little over an inch, inch and 1/8, something like that on this side. What I'm looking at, and then we're about, I don't know, half, 3/4, somewhere in there. As long as it don't rub, I mean, it's fine. But we'll just have to see how it does, and we'll check it out and revisit in a future video, I guess, if it proves to be an issue. So anyway, I'll wrap this video up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.